really?
Listening to you guys, and I had a plan. You just never know when the plan's how it's gonna unfold. I said, I printed off 10 worksheets. I said, I'm gonna listen to the show. I'm gonna knock out these worksheets and see what comes up after. I just came out off of a breath session too, and one of my thoughts was, it's just never ending. And then you just reiterated about your process and the depth of what you're going through, and then the people immediately around me are going through some real difficult layers of stuff with Dan and Ian, and um, it's just it's difficult. It's difficult to watch, but and if I try to understand it or figure it out, the immediacy of it makes no sense, and the only uh, thought that I get that gives it some, I don't know the correct word, hope, credibility, substance, is that we're just, we're tapping into this consciousness of humanity, which is enormous. So it's a big job.
Well, when you say it's difficult to watch, let me just add a little piece of language that might shift that.
Okay.
It's difficult to watch the pictures that I paint on the inside of my eyeballs.
Yeah.
Because that's what's really difficult.
Exactly.
It's not what's going on out there. It's what I'm painting on the inside. And that's why the forgiveness tool is so important to collapse. Because what's going out there is a reflection of what's going on here. He's going through the same struggles you've gone through. And, my offering would be that probably the biggest contribution you could make to Ian would be to do the next piece of work to collapse that picture of his trauma painted on the inside of your eyeballs and become capable of extending a whole different space and energy to him. And I certainly join you in that.
Thank you. Yep.
And make room in your physiology for your breath to just fully fill in.
There was a little post on Substack today where the lady that was presenting it, she offered it was like a mini mind shifter, and so I was like, oh yeah, exactly. This is a little seven. She called it 7-minute writing exercise that can expose your biggest blind spot. So anyway, I jumped into that and I did that little exercise that was laid out, and then I posted as a note also with a link to the Ligand work and referenced the mind shifter. It's the same form of it. It's a quick little version of it.
Right.
But it got me going in that direction, and that's why I came and printed off that's one. I did her exercise, and then I did a little breath session, and I printed off the worksheets, and then dialed into the show. So here we are.
Nice. Well, I shared yesterday on the show an opening that I had as a result of the codependent session the other night. And something I'd never thought of before, but I'll just invite everybody to take a minute and just pay attention inside. And what I'm realizing is that issue for me was one of the core resistance issues. And that working through that one, letting go of that one, has made more room for my breath inside of my form. So I just invite you to, take a breath and check out how much room there is inside of you, how deeply into your physiology does your breath reach? How much space is there for your breath? And I'm realizing for me personally that piece of work created a much larger space inside of me for my breath to reach. So just invite you to notice how far it reaches and then ask to be guided what needs to come up, what resistance, what, again, in Aramaic, Satan the resistor, one who misleads, what stories do I have, what projections do I have, what resistance is it that doesn't allow the trusted breath to move all the way into my physiology. And from my morning still point session to this morning, was just like this huge realization of how much more room there is, having let go of that piece of resistance, having been able to touch it and let go of it. And it's made more room inside of me. So just throw that out. It's not something I'd ever thought of before, but now experientially, I'm realizing that issue was taking up a lot of room inside of me energetically. So if we're holding issues that take up room, then that's the resistance. It doesn't allow the breath full access. So what's the resistance I need to let go of to let it fully enter? And it might be the suffering you've gone through, Terry, around the issues that Ian's facing. It might be the suffering that Ian's going through that resonates. It might be the suffering your father went through and those same issues. And can I just soften enough to let there be more room for my breath to enter? In order to get that Takuja factor active, that transforming factor of the breath active, it has to be at a higher intensity than the level of resistance. That's why usually when somebody does still point, it takes 20, 30 minutes to get that Takuja factor, that transformative factor to kick in. If I can lower the resistance factor, then the Takuja factor doesn't have to be it doesn't take as much effort, it doesn't have to be as strong in order for it to bring in its full benefit. Is that making sense? Any thoughts?
Yes, that was spot on. And what had came up was immediately before you started into the dialogue was that it's the idea of pain that is the resistance. It's not really even the pain for me; it's the idea of pain, and then to witness the pain that I'm seeing these fellows go through is giving me that reinforcing that image in my mind of the idea of pain. And even with my breath session today, and it alternates at different times, I said there is, as you said, there's a certain level of resistance, and I haven't found the magic formula that allows me to roll right into those beautiful sessions that I've experienced that I know are available, but they're not always available. I don't seem to
Well,
have.
they're always available. I may not always be able to access them, but
Right.
that's when the resistance is so high. It's like, I just can't quite get enough breath impetus to overcome the resistance. And
Exactly.
part of the quantum still point training is to transform the idea of pain or the experience of pain from a mental construct accompanying what's going on physiologically and just shifting. And you don't need to do quantum to do this, just to shift and recognize that, oh, this is a sensation in my body. And to dissolve with the breath, the mental component, and just let it be a sensation. That can help in order to dissolve that resistance and make it easier to get that Kutch factor moving that creates the transformation and creates more space in physiology for the breath to just enter without encountering any resistance.
I was actually doing a physical job yesterday, and the pain was so great that it brought me to tears. And I'm tearing up thinking about it. And it's like, the thoughts were, I just don't think I can continue. But I did. I continued through, and it took longer and it hurt more than I imagined. And then what resulted from that was that I had a desire and inspiration to do my exercise this morning, really get more into my stretches and loosen it up. And as you were describing the resistance, it's almost like there's a blanket around my chest area, a visible blanket of restriction around the chest there that needs to dissolve or loosen up or dissipate.
Terry, I got a question.
Sure.
And if you went into that space where you exhibited the mental aspect of pain and just were in there, and like you said, it was so intense, it brought you to tears. So if you were just in that and you described it as a blanket that surrounds your entire chest that you just want it to go away, does it have an emotion?
Well, that's actually two different things you're talking about.
Okay.
One was the physical pain that I was experiencing yesterday on doing the project, and the level of that, it was actually, I was feeling all in my body in different areas.
Yeah.
And then that restrictive blanket was in the breath session just a little while ago.
Okay.
When I was working to loosen and open my breath up, is where I could feel that. And I felt that before, that restriction. It's like the resistance and the emotion I would put on it would be fear. And what has happened previously is that through continued effort, there's a release, and it expands and opens. And sometimes, this, I don't understand exactly. It's like what Michael says, all the above. So what do? You do all the above. You do worksheets. You step up clean your diet up a little bit. You do a little bit of health, and then.
So if we could just be with the pain right, like I don't know if you can take yourself back to the pain of yesterday because you described it all over your body, right? You experienced it, and the pain was so intense it brought you to tears.
Mm-hmm.
If you could just be sitting right into that pain, because it's a messenger. It's a messenger, and when we, like Michael says, when we go past the mental construct as it being in pain, and we go to the deeper aspect of the sensation and we ride the current of that, that's where the message is. And if that pain all through your body, so intense it brought you to tears, and you had to do physical activity, and then you described the blanket as fear, what the blanket that you had in your breath work. Now I just want to be with the physical pain, and if it had an emotion, what's the emotion? That pain throughout your body.
Oh, the first word that surfaced was terror.
Okay, terror. That's a big, can you, and I just want to give you just, and I want you to breathe as I'm just going to talk for a minute and just come into the breath. And we get to say, I see you, terror. I'm here with you. And of course, when you were a little boy, there was no way to discharge terror, so you took it in your body because of all the violence that was projected upon you. And there was nowhere for its release. So the body held it. And just breathe into that. And when I say that to you, what happens to that part that you experience as terror?
Mm. What happened was the picture floated through my mind of that, back to that moment. I guess that incident, that one, the horrific scene of violence when everything was bottled up and cut off. Where I separated from my
Of course you
field.
did.
Mm.
Of course, because it is too much for the psyche to bear.
Yeah.
And the only
Breathe
way
into
to
it.
cope, and just breathe. I just want you to breathe, and you do what I do sometimes, and I notice this in me, is that because we want to figure everything out.
Yeah.
And I want to just offer this, what Peter Levine says, who does somatic work. When we heal when we follow the sensation, not the story. So I'm going to do the story with you, and you just get to feel in your body and connect to that part of you that dissociated and was in absolute terror. And it was so intense that it brought the tears yesterday, and it is replicating exactly the memory when you were experience abject terror. Just breathe into your body and breathe with that, and that part of you, that age part of you, that is still, may still be held in that memory. Just breathe as deep as you can and just regulate with that part of you. So now I call that co-regulation with myself. The fractured part of me that is not yet whole in my being. Taking a big breath in and letting that part of you know that you're here now. And the part of you is safe in your being. And that energy of terror, the currency of that has been running through your family system from father to son for generations. And although your son can't label it, it is an energy coursing through his nervous system, as it is yours, as it is your father's, or was your father's. And here you are taking up a relationship with that terror. And you get to say, I see you. I see and I understand. I see you. I understand. Our bodies took on this terror because there was nowhere to discharge it. And there was no safety or regulation in the outer world where we were held and met at our terror. Just breathing into that and letting that part of you know that you are willing to meet that part, all of the terror in your presence, and that you will be the safe container and the healthy container for it to be processed. Just breathe deeply into that. And what happens when I give that language that way?
Initially, I could see. I'm laying down now. I hate to lay down.
Yeah, that's okay. And good listening to your body that you needed to know you to lay down. So you have the medicine within you, that you automatically knew already, the medicine that your body needed to be lying down.
So initially, it was cut off literally from the neck down. Everything was shut down. Whereas the pain is manifesting through that strong enough to step into my awareness is in my left hip.
Yeah, and just breathe into the left hip. Just breathe. And it's going to move around because it's frightened. This part of you has this part of you has been denied a template for safety.
Yeah, the left hip is definitely a new area of pain awareness.
Yeah, and it's been denied safety. So it's going to generate running. And it's going to run to different parts of the body. And I've worked with clients and I watch the resistance, not the resistance running that's exhibited as physiology, as pain. And now we just breathe into the sensation in your left hip. And you get to say to that part, I'm here with you. And I will be here for as long as you need. And I will breathe into the intensity so we can come home to the truth of our being. We have lived through everything we experienced. And I am the older version of you. And I lived through all the terror. Breathe into that, and you get to tell that part, I am here to show you a safe life, a joyous life, a life filled with safety and trust, where you will be met with gentleness, respect, kindness, cherishing, support, guidance, and most of all, embraced fully in love, which is our natural state of being. Allow yourself to breathe deeply into that hip. This part of you this part of you, the template of love and kindness and support was missed. And now here you are, knowing exactly what is needed. Lying down, going into breath, and experiencing the sensation in your hip. Just breathing right into that and being in the current of Rukha and knowing you have the vitality to hold this piece now, and the resistance of the little boy's self who was denied safety and trust, and allowing that to release, to know he gets to rest into Rukha Dakucha.
Susan, let's bring in and breathe in the support of this whole family that's here with Terry.
All of us, you're doing such great work, and for all of us doing, also holding space as we breathe in. We breathe in the love that you are. As we breathe out, you receive the love that you are. So we breathe in the love that you are. As we breathe out, we give you the love that you are. And safety is on the inside, sweetie. Safety comes from within and being rooted in Rukha. Breathing in, breathing out. You've done such grand work that you manifested this family, soul family, to hold you in your process work. And beautiful representations of the Divine Father with Michael and the Divine Mother with Jeannie, who've held you in support and cradled your wounds. And knowing that you are the love of God and they rest with you in your healing process, and all of us as the brothers and sisters. that you are safe. And you can trust in Rukha. And the pain is a portal to transformation. Because the golden key lies within you. The gift is finding the security in your own heart. And you bring that and emanate that in the world with the gift that you are. All of us who are breathing with you, for all of us that had the same, where we're in mid of face neglect, faced abuse, faced harrowing, horrific acts of violence. Yet we all knew the truth of who we are in this world that's filled with the non-being mind. And now we're home. We're home in the container of the truth of God. And now we're teaching those fractal parts of ourselves that are wounded, letting them know they're safe. They can come and rest in our heart. And we have a direct line to source itself through the breath. And we are one with God. Because our bodies don't know regulation with the truth of that. When we were first brought into this world, safety is confusing. Love, true love is confusing. Because we go up against all that was not it. So we get to move through the barrier, the non-being mind into the truth, that love is who we are and have always been. Once you know it, we get to bring it. Once we know it, we get to bring it and shine it into the world. And there is only the truth. God is love. And if anything arises in our reality that tempts us to believe something different, we come back to the breath and rest into the truth of the Divine Mother. God is love.
And make more room for that breath inside of your body, reaching all the way down to your feet. How are you doing, Terry?
Good. Definitely opened up a little bit.
Can you see yourself extending that opening to Ian?
Yes.
So I'll join you in holding the space that he can receive that from all of us and know his value and know his worth.
It's very interesting what's coming up. Lots around, believe it or not, Jesus' teaching and the initial teachings of the Huna, the Hawaiians. It's called Growing into the Light, and a person wrote many books in the 40s, and the book I'm reading now, it's called A Personal Guide to Practicing the Huna Method by Max Freedom Long. And what I'm seeing, so the emotion of love and hate cannot exist at the same time. We cannot rouse and express love for the father mother while we are hating someone or something. The two simply do not mix. So in the masterpiece of the Huna instruction, the Lord's Prayer, we're taught that we must forgive those who have caused us to hate them. We're taught that only then can our sin of hating be removed from the path, forgiven, so there can be love vibrating back and forth from the three selves. And the three selves are the spirit, the high self, it's referenced in the Huna, the middle self, which is the chooser, and the low self, which is the human. I believe the middle self is the soul. And so we get to connect directly to the high self, according to the Huna, through the low self. The prayer is held in the vibration, the currency of love, through the breath of Rukha. Talk a lot in here about breath. And these beautiful teachings of Yeshua have been scattered and brought forward in many other traditions, and Huna being one. So not surprising I'm being asked to lead this retreat in Hawaii, and this information is coming into my awareness now. And we all hold that in this circle, and it's transforming with love. And we're being asked that all that is not love to being faced in the family system and holding Rukha and then the Dakucha factor, as Michael says, to bring it home to the truth. We're all doing our part. When we heal our minds, the minds outside of ourselves are healed. And then to learn to what extent our contact with the high self is hindered by the hidden hates of the low self. We need only to set about rousing in it the emotion of love for all people, all things, and especially for the Father Mother. If the love emotion is easy to arouse by recounting the lovableness of the objects of love, all is well, and the path to the high self is sure to be fairly open and clear. If, on the other hand, we cannot feel love, And if we find instead that we begin remembering someone whom we dislike, it is a certainty that the low self is blocking the path. Love, if it can be set vibrating, is stronger than hate. This being true, we can begin driving out hatred by expressing love more and more. Gautama, the Buddha, based the religion he taught on the necessity of ridding oneself of hate. He said, there is no pain like hate. The command, love thy neighbor as thyself, ceases to have the impractical and idealistic label tied to it when we know our huna, and we see that no matter how hateful our neighbor may be, we cannot indulge in active hate for him and still reach the high selves over the bridge of love. In any case, we can love the high self of the evilest neighbor, seeing his father, mother, watching and yearning over him, waiting with endless patience until he has learned the lesson that all have to learn sooner or later. Correcting hate would seem to be more worthily done because of aspiration, but we all know that is another way, an act of self-preservation. For hate is a deadly poison, physically, mentally, and spiritually. Any physician or psychologist will testify to its effects on the body and mind, for countless disorders of both stem from it. And from our study as well as from common sense, we know that it can block the union with the high self. In this field, it is not alone. Some individuals who have come to a place where the high self is recognized and who are making an effort to work in unison with it fail because they refuse to recognize certain of their ways as being greedy or envious or hurtful to others. Often such traits are considered legitimate because of business competition or one excuse or another. There is a little story which may make this clearer. Once upon a time, a kindly and generous man took up the study of magic and alchemy in the hope of finding some secret formula to help him become rich and powerful. As his search went on, he became more and more convinced that he deserved these blessings, and he added to his growing desires the acquisition of a young and beautiful wife to share his riches. Eventually, he discovered and discarded manuscript in which was written a magic formula, a simple invocation to the 7 gods. The writer of the scroll, who had carefully signed his name, explained that each god had made certain conditions which must be understood by the supplantant before his request could be granted. As there was no other way to learn these things, the man began making overtures to the doorkeeper of the temple. And after presenting some small gifts, he was able to gain an audience with the priest who had signed his name at the bottom of the scroll. At the appointed time, and with every generous gift, he presented himself before the old priest, a kindly individual with a twinkle in his eyes. When he had explained why he had come, the priest nodded gravely. "I am happy to help you," he said, and unrolled the scroll. "These are the conditions. The first god will answer no prayer if it is for something foolish. The second will answer no prayer which asks that something belonging to another be taken away and given to the supplantant. The fourth will answer no prayer for a supplantant who already has more than his rightful share of good things. The fifth god will not grant something not well deserved, and the sixth will punish the suppliant if he asks for his own aggrandizement, glory, and rise to power." "Wait," begged the man. I have been counting on my fingers. You forgot to tell me about the third god." "So I did," said the old priest. "The third god will answer no prayer for any supplantant who thinks he is better than other people." We still have the seventh. If you are frowned upon by the other 6 gods, the seventh is the one who will drive you from before their faces. The priest smiled, closed his eyes, and settled back as if he was about to take a nap. The man anxiously reviewed what he had been told. He tried to think of one single thing he had meant to ask for which did not validate the limitations set by the natures of the gods. Finally, he got slowly to his feet, bowed to the priest without awakening him, and returned to his home. "Where have you been?" asked his wife, as she brushed back a wisp of hair from her red face and turned again to taking brown loaves from the earthen oven. He stooped to give her a loving pat and kissed her plump cheek. "I've been talking to a wise man about prayers and the gods," he told her, "and I've come home to give thanks for my many blessings." His good wife beamed at him happily. "I shall bake a very special honey cake for your supper," she promised, and returned to her loaves. So when the kahunas instructed their pupils to refrain from doing anything that would hurt another, the command was regarded as a basic law of right living. They taught that there was but one sin, and that was the hurting of someone. Their dictum could have been "no hurt, no sin," had they chosen to put it that briefly. However, there were many things to be said about this matter, since there were many ways of hurting. To neglect one's duty to another, to hurt him, to cause another to be envious was a hurt, and so the list went on. So, yeah, there's just so much is being said for the higher self. We know at the higher selves who we are, and the lower selves are denied the truth in this game of life. And the middle self, the heart and the soul, is the chooser. And we are righting the wrongs of the past, of our ancestors, coming home to the truth.
And holding the space with the breath.
Yes. And I haven't got to that chapter yet, Michael, but there's a chapter all about the breath. And
Oh, cool.
yeah, so, and isn't that interesting? The whole all about the Huna way is coming into my field very strong right now.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sweet. How's everybody doing? How did that move in you? Any thoughts, Terry?
Yes. So the pain slowly oozed out to my right hip a little bit. And then I became very aware of my feet. And I get woken up a couple of times a night with pain in my feet. And they feel like I don't want to say wrapped in concrete because that would be rigid, but I see them wrapped in a lead blanket. They can barely, it's got this thick covering. And so for a moment there, I was back at that trauma, and I was literally frozen in place. And that's when,
After your fall?
no, this was before, when I was 5. And
Okay.
yeah, I was frozen in place. And the fall was an attempt to shake things up in some crazy extreme fashion. It's like, okay,
You certainly shook it up there, yeah.
yeah, because it broke my 8 ribs broke loose front and back, floating in my body, and all this nervous disorder, that disconnect from the nervous system, and all was just. I don't know how to describe it other than that way, but now I can see that this nerve disconnect is all a part of that, and that this energy halley, because I knew I was going to put this. I've got this special salve that's like Dr. Bonner's bone and tissue. It's really good stuff. It has comfrey, which is the ancient Indians used it for bone setting over in India and all that thousands of years ago. So I was rubbing that on my feet as we started this session today to open that up, and it certainly did. But it's just so dense and compressed and restricted in the feet area. And so that's what I got.
Were you able to draw your breath down into your feet? Can you
Yeah,
make space for your breath to go into that tissue?
it does, and it's like it goes down a narrow tube, and as opposed to radiating through the nervous system, it's restricted.
So maybe you can dilate that tube and let it open. Let the breath soften it.
There was a pulsing that started a few minutes ago on one of the feet. It was like something was coming alive or opening up there. It's just
Awesome.
a dense pulse.
Beautiful.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah. And I just want to offer this, Terry, and this I can offer it because I've experienced it. So the I want to say the subtle body that's holding the pain is not the physical body. The physical body is just a hologram. It's not even real. And the energetic body that's holding the trauma, you can imagine that it's being placed over or surrounding the physical body, so it feels as though it's coming through the feet, and it feels as though it's the constriction in the heart, and it's energy that's wanting, and it's using the body as the conduit to liberate the energy. That's why so many souls want to come into the human body, into a body here, because you get to interchange with your reality and do the cleanup. And you get to have all the players and actors in the storyline that reflect these experiences where there's energetic trapped energy in the subtle energy bodies. In this case, it's the emotional body I can feel. And so now it feels as though it's actually the feet. And you can imagine lifting up. And I don't know if you've experienced this when you come back from dream time. And this happens for me. It's like I put on the layers of the coats. So I step into my emotional body. I step into my mental body. I step into my soul's there, of course, my belief systems. And then the last one to land is into the physical body. But I put on these coats before I enter into the vessel. And so this opportunity to know that it's a mind-body unit. You heal the mind, the body must come in line. It's just the body is only the learning device of the mind, as A Course in Miracles says, and that absolutely is the truth. And yes, you fell from a very high place, and you can correct any discordant energy that resides in that learning device. And you're not bound by the restrictions of the learning device, but you are bound by the restrictions of the mind. You clean up the mind, the learning device comes right in line. And you are here to be a great teacher of God, and you are here to demonstrate. It's almost, I keep hearing Lazarus raise up. It's because you will be a demonstration of one who's healed not only his mind, but his soul and his body. And you will be a walking demonstration of the truth of how this game works, just like Jesus was. Yeshua did it. Don't look for me in my body. I'm not there. So like that, for whatever reason, had to share that for the landing to the mind to understand the body is only a learning device. And how does that land when I say all that, Terry?
And that lands right on, because what I experienced was a death of the body, but without me leaving the body, or with, it was, I don't know how to describe it. It was the death of the body, but I didn't die.
Yeah.
And I was moved through that black space of nothingness, it seemed, and then came back to the awareness of The first words the doctor said was, "I don't know why they're alive." And it's like, okay.
Well, your soul knows exactly why it's alive. And one of the things of your tasks here is to heal the physiology of family. So we all came into physiology that stores constricted mind energy. And some of us, it's held in the emotional field through depression and, mental illness. Some of us, it's held in the physical body through ailments that, that have been transferred on the current in the bloodline, and could be heart conditions, diabetes, all of those things. They're not, that isn't the truth. That is, all of those are in denial of truth
Mm.
and moving us into coherent energy. And so when you sit with those aspects that of the body that are not in coherence yet fully, knowing, and your willingness to face every, as we do in the worksheets, every part. And for you, I can sense right now you are in a higher vitality level, so this is really coming front and center. And what is in the way is the way. So what you're up against right now, that's still, you're just facing the next layer and breathing through
And we're
it.
blessed you came back.
Yeah, and you're here to be a great teacher of God, Terry, and a demonstration for the family how to break through. And it's, the ancestral trauma is so dense and so many generations. And it takes one willing soul to turn around and face the flames and saying, it ends here. And you are right. You are that soul.
And we are here to uplift you.
Yeah.
All kinds of electrical impulses flowing through my body.
Yeah. And it's the
And
truth.
Nice.
immediately thought the doctor what he spoke of. He spoke of the false life. He says, "Oh, I can't believe you're alive," but he was speaking of the false life. The true life is the one that never dies.
That's it. And you came here to free the human aspect of the family system, so they could come into alignment with the truth of God. And all of us are doing that. And your initiation through all the events that you went through is so you could hold the level of light and have the depth of compassion for all beings. And someone that hasn't lived the life you've lived wouldn't have necessarily would be void of the capacity to hold that depth, because you've walked through so many moments of these harrowing experiences. You have a deep knowing and depth of compassion that the majority of humanity does not hold. That they don't have access to that level of compassion. And when you've experienced and had the direct experiences to be in hell, you can then walk people through it. And so because you've been there, you have the capacity to do that.
Yeah, it's a very, very deep compassion for
I feel it.
those that are suffering.
Yeah. And then that same level of compassion for the little boy within you who was in abject terror and froze in his tracks with nowhere to go and no safety, denied safety to co-regulate with love. And yet the cornerstone of your being was always love. You came in the world as that, as we all did, and your journey was wanting to be met there. And all of us on this call, by the way, we all had that level of sensitivity, and we were not met at our sensitivity to know the truth of love. And then we started to believe the lies. And we got hooked into the illusion, knowing that we came here to be the light of God and bring love to this plane. And we're all soul family that agreed and come together, and we would meet up with each other. We wrote it all out, in our little scripts, that we would do our work to find each other. And it feels for me really good to land into the truth. And then we get to
Amen and a woman.
and we get to build and rest. What I love, this we get to co-regulate with this group. I'm using that word now because it's Lena, but the co-regulation of it, just being able to lean in into the safety of the truth. Feels really, really good. It's, yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's 2:05. I wonder if anyone else has any last thought to add or share before we complete. Andrea, Kathy, iPhone. Don't know who's on the iPhone.
I think it's Faye.
Oh, hey, young lady. Welcome. Everybody, well, thank you for joining us, holding a space.